I bought a house years before marriage, but my entitled in-laws tried to evict me. I laughed as police escorted them out in disgrace. I'm Elizabeth, a 34-year-old cybersecurity specialist for a major financial firm here in Denver, Colorado. For the past decade, I've been grinding, working 70-hour weeks, sacrificing my 20s while most of my college friends from University of Colorado were out bar hopping on Larimer Square. I saved every penny I could while living in a cramped apartment with 2 roommates who were questionable at best when it came to basic hygiene. One of them literally never washed his dishes, they just sat there growing science experiments for weeks. But I put up with it because I had a goal. Finally, at 28, I bought my dream house. Not a mansion, but a beautiful 4-bedroom Tudor-style home in Lakewood with mature oak trees, a wraparound porch, and neighbors who actually wave when they see you. It had a finished basement where I set up my gaming station and home office, a backyard big enough for the vegetable garden I'd always wanted, and a kitchen with quartz countertops that didn't make me want to cry every time I cooked. I put down $80,000 I'd been saving since graduation. My parents helped with $30,000, but I paid them back within 18 months because I didn't want to owe anyone. I was damn proud of that house and what it represented, actually achieving something substantial through hard work and delayed gratification. I met Brandon, a 31-year-old sales manager, on Bumble about 4 years ago. He seemed perfect at first, claiming to be into hiking the Rocky Mountain trails and playing video games, describing himself as low maintenance in his profile. He had this infectious laugh that I found endearing and could talk for hours about true crime documentaries, which I was obsessed with at the time. We dated for 16 months, moved pretty quickly, and got married at a beautiful ceremony at the Denver Botanic Gardens with a reception at my place. He moved into my house, which I'd already owned for 3 years. There were red flags I ignored because I was admittedly just happy to not be single anymore. He worked in sales but called in sick constantly, claiming migraines whenever there was a big presentation. He expected expensive birthday, Christmas, Valentine's, and anniversary gifts. We're talking Tag Heuer watches and North Face jackets, but got me stuff from Target's clearance rack. His parents, William and Patricia, treated him like he was still 16, and he let them. He had anxiety that conveniently flared up whenever there was yard work to do or bills to discuss. He never once offered to split any house-related expenses and had a mysterious golf habit that somehow never affected his modest bank account. I later discovered my Chase credit card was funding his entire lifestyle, including those weekend trips to Vail he claimed his buddy was paying for. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for what I'd find when I came home from work that Tuesday evening in March, after putting in a brutal 18-hour shift patching a critical security breach that could have compromised our entire client database. I got home around 8:30 p.m. after that marathon workday, my brain completely fried, my eyes burning from staring at monitors all day. I was dreaming of collapsing on my sectional sofa and maybe playing some Halo to decompress. I pulled into my driveway and had to slam on the brakes because there was a pile of stuff on my front lawn. My stuff. My faded University of Colorado sweatshirt was lying in the grass, getting damp from the sprinkler system. My $4,200 vinyl collection, which I've been meticulously building since high school, was spilling out of boxes, some records exposed to the late afternoon sun. My gaming equipment, books, clothes, even that stupid ceramic buffalo Brandon gave me for our anniversary, bought with my credit card, as I later discovered, was sitting crooked on top of the pile. There they were, the in-laws from hell. Patricia, 59, and William, 63, both standing there with smug looks on their faces like they just won the Powerball jackpot. These people have never worked real jobs in their entitled lives. William manages some strip mall properties his uncle left him in Thornton, and Patricia's entire identity revolves around being Brandon's mother and shopping at Cherry Creek Mall. Both were wearing designer clothes while standing on my lawn, throwing my belongings around like they owned the place. Brandon was hovering by the front door, arms crossed, looking away like he couldn't meet my eyes. His body language was a weird mix of defiant and nervous, like someone who knows they're doing something terrible but has convinced themselves they're justified. Before I even got my car door open, Patricia started shrieking in that voice of hers that sounds like nails on a chalkboard, "There she is. Finally. The worthless deadbeat." This from a woman who once told me at Thanksgiving that real women know how to make their husbands feel appreciated, and that my job playing with computers wasn't impressive because anyone can watch YouTube tutorials nowadays. I felt this weird calm come over me, like deep water settling after a storm. A strange clarity when everything suddenly makes perfect sense. I got out slowly, not rushing, taking in the full scope of their audacity. William puffed up his chest like he always does when he's trying to intimidate someone. The guy's been living off his family's property investments his whole life, but acts like he built the Denver skyline with his bare hands. He carries business cards that say real estate developer, but I've never seen him develop anything except an attitude. "All right, Elizabeth," he barked at me, using his "I'm talking to the server who got my steak wrong" voice. "This isn't working. Pack up whatever else you need and get out. We're changing the locks tomorrow morning. This is Brandon's house now." He waved his hand dismissively, like I was some squatter who'd been crashing on his property. That's when Brandon finally spoke up, using that pathetic little boy voice he uses when he wants something expensive. "Elizabeth, it's over. I told you things weren't working. Mom and Dad agree, it's just better if you leave my house." "My house?" The audacity was about to get so much worse. "My house," I repeated, my voice deadly calm. "The one I bought with my down payment 6 years before I even matched with you on Bumble? The one where only my name is on the deed, mortgage, and every single utility bill. The one I'd spent thousands renovating little by little, new furnace, fixing the ancient plumbing, replacing the rotting deck boards, all while he complained that we weren't prioritizing the cosmetic updates he wanted for his Instagram posts. His parents had maybe visited 8 times before he moved in, always acting like they were doing me some huge favor by gracing me with their presence. Always making comments about how I should really update the kitchen backsplash, or asking when are you putting in that man cave downstairs? Never offering to chip in, of course. One time, William actually said, "When Brandon fully settles in, we should discuss proper landscaping for this place," like I was living in some kind of construction zone instead of a perfectly beautiful Tudor home. And now suddenly it's Brandon's house. The mental gymnastics were Olympic level. Patricia came at me, finger-stabbing the air, her expensive manicure glinting in the Colorado sunset. She had this self-righteous look on her face, like she was delivering divine judgment from Mount Evans. "You heard him. Get out. You aren't welcome here anymore, you pathetic loser. This is our son's house now." Then she actually kicked one of my boxes for emphasis. My old computer science textbook from CU skidded across the wet grass, landing in a puddle from the morning sprinkler system. That's when the absurdity of it all hit me. I started laughing. Not a chuckle, but a full-blown, slightly manic laugh that echoed across the quiet neighborhood. Here was this 59-year-old woman who I'd watched drop $900 on brunch at the Brown Palace without blinking, kicking my college textbooks around like she was some enforcer in a bad mob movie. Patricia's jaw literally dropped. William blinked stupidly. Brandon flinched like I'd screamed at him. "My house," I choked out, wiping tears from my eyes. "Brandon's house. Wow. Did I miss the closing? Was there some paperwork I forgot to sign? Because last I checked, I'm the only one who's paid a single penny toward this mortgage. I'm the only name on the deed. I've never seen any of you write a check for property taxes, homeowners insurance, or repairs." The neighbors across the street, the Andersons, had come out onto their front porch, clearly watching the show unfold. "Don't you dare mock us," William blustered, puffing up again. His tag Hoyer, a real one unfortunately, glinted as he gesticulated wildly. "This is only fair. Brandon dedicated years to you. He deserves this house for everything he's endured." "Endured what?" I asked, my face getting hot but my voice staying steady. "My stable job? Me paying all the bills? The ski trips to Aspen I funded? The $3,200 golf clubs I bought him for his birthday that he used exactly twice before deciding he preferred Topgolf?" That's when Patricia jumped in, her voice rising to a pitch that probably disturbed aircraft at Denver International Airport, and I realized the situation was about to escalate beyond anything I could have imagined. Patricia's voice hit a frequency that could shatter wine glasses. "You clearly don't appreciate him. You work constantly. You're never home. We're stepping in to ensure he has what he deserves." "Right," I said, the laughter gone, replaced by ice in my veins. I pulled out my iPhone. "What are you doing?" Brandon asked, panic flashing in his eyes. For the first time, he looked genuinely unsure of himself. "Calling the folks who handle property disputes," I said evenly. "Trespassing, specifically. You know, the police." I'd never called the cops in my life, but this was beyond ridiculous. "Don't you dare." Patricia shrieked, her voice hitting a note that probably disturbed elk in the nearby mountains. This is a family matter. We don't need to involve outsiders. Not when you're on my property throwing my belongings around, I replied, dialing 911. Not when you're trying to illegally evict me from a house I own outright with zero legal claim whatsoever. That's actually a crime, by the way. Brandon started crying, those rehearsed tears that always appeared the moment he wasn't getting his way. The same tears that came out when I said we couldn't afford a $5,000 ski trip to Whistler, or when I suggested he might want to contribute to our joint savings account once in a while. Elizabeth, please don't do this. We can talk about it. I just need some space right now. And Mom and Dad thought they could steal my house, I finished for him. Yeah, I gathered that part. As I explained the situation to the dispatcher, I watched William whispering urgently to Patricia, whose face was turning an alarming shade of red that clashed horribly with her obviously dyed auburn hair. Brandon just stood there, probably realizing that his master plan was falling apart faster than a house of cards in a Colorado windstorm. The neighbors were outright staring now. Mrs. Anderson from next door had come outside with her phone, definitely recording. Great, this would be all over the Lakewood Facebook groups by morning. I calmly gave my address, stated there were 3 individuals trespassing, refusing to leave, who had moved my belongings onto the lawn and were claiming ownership of my home. I could hear Patricia in the background, practically choking on her rage, yelling that I was the one who needed to leave. My name is on the deed and mortgage, I explained to the dispatcher, who sounded like she'd heard every variety of human stupidity. I've lived here for 8 years. They're trying to illegally evict me. William started toward me, his face turning purple under his expensive haircut. He was muttering something about talking some sense into me. William, I wouldn't, I warned, holding up my free hand. Stay right there. Adding assault to the mix won't look good for you. He hesitated, then stopped. William's whole tough guy act falls apart the second there might be actual consequences. Brandon looked genuinely panicked now, not sad, not upset, but panicked like someone whose elaborate scheme was rapidly unraveling. That's when he made the mistake that would seal his fate forever. Elizabeth, please hang up. Brandon pleaded. Just go stay with your sister Ashley for a few days. We can talk later. I promise we'll work something out. Talk about what, Brandon? My voice was flat, the betrayal hitting me like a punch to the gut. 4 years of marriage, and this is what it came down to? The part where you plotted with your parents to illegally kick me out of the house I own, or the part where you stood by while they threw my life onto the lawn? Which bit requires clarification? He actually winced, physically winced like I'd slapped him. Mom, Dad, maybe we should go. We can come back tomorrow and... We're not going anywhere. Patricia snapped, adjusting her designer sunglasses even though the sun was setting behind the Rockies. This is your house, Brandon. Don't be weak now. She's bluffing about the police. I wasn't bluffing. The flashing red and blue lights arrived within minutes, 2 patrol cars, 4 officers. Our neighborhood isn't exactly downtown Denver, so I guess they weren't busy with more pressing matters. They took in the scene, me standing by my Honda Pilot, my possessions scattered across the perfectly manicured lawn, the 3 trespassers near the front door. They separated us immediately. 2 officers talked to Patricia, William, and Brandon while the other 2 spoke with me. I explained the situation calmly, showed my driver's license with a matching address, pulled up photos of the deed on my phone, mentioned it was solely mine, purchased before marriage. I showed them my key working in the lock and pulled up years of mortgage statements on my banking app. The senior officer, a woman with graying temples and the patient expression of someone who'd seen every flavor of human stupidity, listened, nodded, took notes. She then rejoined the other group. I couldn't hear everything, but I caught snippets: legal resident, civil matter for the courts, must vacate the premises immediately. Brandon was doing his crying routine again, with Patricia's arm around his shoulders. William was puffing up his chest, talking loudly about misunderstandings, and how I was mentally unstable. Classic William, trying to rewrite reality when things don't go his way. I'd watched him do this countless times at holiday gatherings, changing the story until he somehow comes out looking like the hero. Not this time, William. Not with my house. Mrs. Anderson was definitely recording now, not even trying to be subtle about it. The neighbors across the street had brought out folding chairs, dinner, and a show. The senior officer finally walked back to me, her expression unreadable but professional. Ma'am, We've explained the situation to them. This is clearly your residence, and they have no legal right to remove you or your belongings. They need to leave immediately. I nodded, relief washing over me like a cool mountain breeze. Thank you, officer. However, she continued, I should note that this is ultimately a civil matter. If there are disputes about property ownership, those need to be settled in court. I understand, I said, but there's no dispute. The house is solely in my name, purchased before marriage. She nodded approvingly, but what happened next would forever be one of the most satisfying moments of my life. Patricia went absolutely nuclear when the officers told them they had to leave. Her face turned a weird shade of purple that clashed horribly with her salon auburn hair. This is his marital home. You can't just throw him out. We're not leaving, she shrieked, gesturing wildly with her manicured hands. Do you know who we are in this community? We're members at Cherry Hills Country Club. They live 45 minutes away in a McMansion in Castle Rock that they're probably underwater on. Cherry Hills is a public course. William puffed up again, adjusting his Tag Heuer like it gave him superpowers. We're staying to protect our son. This woman is clearly unstable. Rich, coming from the guy who once told me at Christmas that prenups are for people without confidence, when I casually mentioned a friend getting one. The officer's patience visibly thinned. Ma'am, sir, this isn't optional. This is her property according to all documentation provided. You are trespassing. You need to leave now. Patricia planted her designer shoes on my Kentucky bluegrass and said, no. Then she added, do you know who my husband is? We have connections in this city. We know Mayor Hancock personally. They don't. Hancock left office 3 years ago. That was it. One officer took Patricia firmly by the arm. She shrieked like she was being murdered and tried to pull away, screaming, how dare you touch me? I'll have your badge. Another officer firmly steered William toward the sidewalk. It wasn't rough, but it was decisive. William kept repeating, this is outrageous, in this fake, dignified voice while simultaneously threatening to end my career and have the officers fired. They were physically escorted off my property, yelling threats and insults the whole way, you'll regret this. We'll see you in court. Brandon deserves everything. You're nothing without him. Your job is pathetic. Your family is trash. Brandon trailed after them, head down, crying those perfectly timed tears he always uses when he doesn't get his way, the same tears he used when I wouldn't agree to drain my 401k for the dream European vacation his parents convinced him he deserved. He didn't look back at me once, just followed his parents like a remote-controlled robot. The officers made sure they got in their car, a BMW X5 that William loves to mention cost more than most people's annual salaries at every opportunity, which was parked suspiciously down the block like they knew they were doing something shady. As they drove off, one officer turned to me. Ma'am, I'd recommend changing your locks as soon as possible and documenting everything if there are further incidents. I nodded, thanking them profusely for their professionalism and help. As they left, my phone exploded with texts, missed calls and voicemails. Patricia's incoherent rage, you pathetic excuse for a woman. My son deserves your house and everything in it. You will pay for humiliating us like this. William's fake guilt trips, I thought you were better than this, Elizabeth. After everything our son did for you, after we welcomed you into our family. But Brandon's messages were different, desperate, pleading, and about to reveal just how deep his betrayal really ran. Brandon's whining texts flooded my phone. Elizabeth, please call me. It's not what it looks like. My parents were just worried about me. We can fix this. I'm at the Hampton Inn and it's so uncomfortable. I miss our bed. I ignored them all. I methodically gathered every single item from the lawn, carefully checking for damage. My rare first pressing of Fleetwood Mac's Rumors had water damage on the cover from the sprinkler system. I saw Brandon's Instagram was still logged in on our shared iPad. He'd already posted a crying selfie with the caption, "Sometimes the people you trust most betray you, broken heart." His parents were commenting supportive nonsense, and it already had 67 likes. I carried everything back inside, locked the door, and went through every room looking for anything else missing or damaged. My first call the next morning was to a locksmith, $4.50 to change every lock in the house. My second call was to the toughest divorce attorney in Denver. They actually thought this would work, that I'd just hand over a $520,000 house I bought with my own money to their precious prince. Absolutely unbelievable. 4 months later, the divorce was finalized. Brandon got exactly what he contributed to the house: nothing. The judge wasn't impressed with their eviction stunt, and Brandon's lawyer advised him to take the settlement and run. I kept my house, my sanity, and my dignity. Brandon moved back in with his parents, who are now dealing with the consequences of raising an entitled adult child who thought he could steal someone else's home. But here's the beautiful epilogue. 6 months after the divorce, I met David at a cybersecurity conference in Austin. He's a software architect who actually appreciates my work, pays his own bills, and thinks my vinyl collection is incredibly cool. When I told him the story of the great eviction attempt, he laughed and said, "Well, at least I know you're not afraid to call the cops when necessary." We've been together a year now, and he's moving in next month, but only after insisting on contributing to the mortgage and utilities from day one. "It's your house," he said, "but if I'm living here, I'm paying my share. That's what partners do." The karma gods weren't finished with Patricia and William, either. Turns out their strip mall empire wasn't as solid as they pretended. 3 months after the divorce, they lost 2 major properties to foreclosure. Brandon had to move out of their McMansion and into a studio apartment in Thornton. His Instagram posts became noticeably less frequent. Meanwhile, I got promoted to senior cybersecurity director with a $40,000 raise, finished renovating my basement into the most epic gaming setup this side of the Continental Divide, and started hosting monthly game nights for my colleagues. Justice isn't just a concept, it's what happens when entitled people mess around and find out. Sometimes the good guys really do win, especially when they have the deed, the mortgage papers, and the local police department on their side. And Patricia's still blocked on my phone, though I hear through the neighborhood grapevine that she occasionally drives by my house, probably wondering how her foolproof plan failed so spectacularly. Home sweet home, indeed.